Going somewhere else.
Extension of the public hearing.
I want to talk to me, so
Bill Sitter.
I'll be in Vermont next.
Not
week.
quite yet.
Back for a few
Okay.
days, so that seems.
All right, you should be good to go, Stanley.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Want to welcome you to the Newington Planning and Zoning Commission's regular meeting of 24 June 2026, 7 p.m. Please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag. United States of America.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Liberty
and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, Noreen, please.
Commissioner King. Commissioner Fox. Commissioner Harpy.
Here,
Commissioner Minor. Commissioner Cascarelli. Here. Chairman Sobieski.
Here.
Commissioner Woods.
Here.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Gill.
Here.
Commissioner Morales.
So I do have Commissioner Rice Davis and
Kane.
Commissioner Kane online.
Noreen, did you get Commissioner Kane's online?
Okay.
So yeah,
and so, yes.
Okay,
I'm Commissioner Kane here. Sorry,
thank you.
the audio wasn't coming through my headphones, so I just took them off and now it's working.
So, is Commissioner Rice on?
She is.
I'm here.
Okay,
okay.
how about Commissioner Zahana? Morales, rather, I'm sorry.
I do not see her, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, I'd like to appoint Commissioner Gill for Commissioner Fox tonight. Okay, thank you. Okay,
You'll have one more opening as well. For Commissioner Minor.
oh yes, that's right. Commissioner Rice, I'm going to appoint you for Commissioner Minor tonight.
Okay,
Thank you. Approval of agenda, Paul?
Yep, there's no changes except to note that this is the amended agenda that was filed that had the item 1 and 2 under the public hearing, which is the staff report of 622 and the amendments of 622, and also the item under new business A for the designation of the TPZ alternate for Capital Region Council governments. So no changes, just noting it's the amended agenda.
All right, thank you. Public participation, round 1. When you wish to speak, please come up, state your name and address for the record, and items that are not on the agenda.
We have some online. Go ahead, Rose.
Hi, Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. I had hoped to get to the meeting in person tonight, but that doesn't seem to be happening. So I just wanted to call in and thank Paul for all that he has done for the town of Newington while he's been our town planner over the last few years. I especially want to thank him for the time that he spent explaining many, many things to me over the phone and through emails. And I'm wishing you all the best in your future endeavors, and you will be missed. Thank you for everything you've done for our town. Appreciate it. Good night.
Thank you, Rose.
Anybody else?
No one online. No one else has their hand
raised,
Mr.
No
Chairman.
one in the room? Okay, remarks by commissioners. Any remarks by any of the commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Harpy.
I just had a question. Will any of these things eventually that we're talking about this evening be impacted with a priority zone? Or would that not be applicable?
So I would say some of the elements of the transit community middle housing can be part of those TOD transit priority zones, depending on how the community decides to go that direction. Again, those are the part of Special Section Public Act 25-1 that are basically voluntary. That if you choose to go down that route, you can, and they're primarily made to get additional points toward a moratorium if the town does need one. As done right now, Newington does not. This is within the safe harbor. If anything changes in the near future, or especially, when the census is redone in 2030, that could see changes, and that would be beneficial potentially for the points for a moratorium.
And do you see any advantage of that? other than the reduction, I guess you don't have to hit the 10% with priority. You get some break on that from OPM, is that correct? Or
Yeah, without the need to go into a moratorium right now, I think the major advantages would be seeing what the state unlocks for funding. It's kind of that, that carrot approach as if all of a sudden you have something announced that says that they're putting together this large fund specifically for this type of zone, then that is a very interesting thing for the town to look at to say, do you need redevelopment in that area? Do you have areas that could be impacted? That's the point. You can pre-plan for some of it when looking at the zoning regulations, but it's really going to matter if there is some funding attached to it.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Moving on, any other commissioner remarks? Any of the commissioners online have any questions?
All set, thank you.
All right. Go to public hearing.
Just go ahead and read the,
Yes.
okay, great.
Yeah.
This is petition TPZ 26-10 zoning regulation amendments to address special session public act 25-1 middle housing parking requirements and associated updates, multiple sections, including sections 2.1, 3.10, 3.11, 3.13, 3.19, 3.20, 3.26, 4.5, 5.5, 6.0, 6.1, 7.4, and 9.2. Applicant Newington TPZ, contact Paul Dixon, town planner, continued from June 17th, 2026.
Okay, so as noted, this is a continued public hearing. So since the last, at the last public hearing, there were a couple items that were raised by the commission and to the commission. So those items are noted in my staff memorandum dated 6/22. And they primarily relate, and I'll kind of go through them in the regulations themselves. I have it highlighted very specifically for areas that are changed. And I think the goal of tonight is to go through those, discuss them with you and see if it's something you would like to keep, revert back to the original, what it was on the last copy of the 6/17 hearing and kind of go from there. So of course, they were the town attorney recommended updates to section 6.1 and 9.2. Those were relatively minor. The removal of the 1,000 square foot maximum unit size from table 5.56. We added the notation of common parking. That was that kind of question about parking in the front. It's a different type of, concept to look at it, say, okay, if you do have an area along, say, the Berlin Turnpike or the backside of it where you wanted to have or let someone have a garage in the front, that the main thing is they wouldn't be putting a parking lot in the front. We're putting that sea of parking. It's that compromise in between if the commission wants to go in that direction. Noting too that the middle housing developments are limited to one driveway per lot. So this is something that, the developer cannot just put driveway straight across the whole thing and create multiple access points. So those two things are still in there to consider. Again, still, I think, having a high enough bar to put in with this regulation to not just say, development as per usual, that this is the opportunity to do something that makes sense in those commercial zones that controls access management for ultimately traffic and safety concerns in the long run. You have the change of the mixed use residential. This was a concern of whether we were specifically limiting either you can build a transit community middle housing development, which is just residential, or just a mixed use building. This is the concept of does the commission want to go down the route of allowing, say, a commercial building, like someone wanted to build a small gym or something on a site, and then having that row of townhouses or a perfect six or a cottage court figured into the site in a way that would make sense to have, ideally a development that would put the, retail commercial on right close to the road, great visibility, and if possible on those sites to kind of tuck the residential back into a little more area, a little more peace, rather than it's not right on the main road. The other thing is the landscape buffer. We specifically noted, and this is when I'll get into that one, that not located in the B in business town center zone. This is one of the things to think about, that this is the front yard buffer. Yes, in our business zone, you wouldn't necessarily want to have a large row you'd have businesses, you'd have all that, all of a sudden you just have a random block of landscaping in there, or the town center. Obviously, the way we have our town center now, having a random row of just nothing but landscaping right up against the front, growing over edge of the sidewalk would be a little out of place for those specific districts. Not necessarily for the planned development and the Berlin Turnpike and the commercial development zones, which again are in far more high traffic areas with a lot more road impacts and don't have that more walkable mixed use type of development to begin with. So those are the, and again, and then there's one, and actually I'll have Mike talk about this too tonight, is that addition of 5.5.14 pre-existing conversions. We'll kind of get into that. But then again, that's a new addition. Again, any of these changes, you can choose to strike them, you can modify them. I think just having that discussion during the public hearing of what you would like to see change to this again, the 622 copy of the amendments that was attached to the agenda. So as we go through, the main addition from this one, all these are the same, purple bold, red strike through, but this highlighted text, it's now emphasis for changes from the last revision for your attention. So there's going to be some items in here that have a cross through, just to be clear for the record. The ones that have a strike through that are highlighted are removed. That's just for you to see what was removed from that section. So again, no changes to the first page, no changes to the second. And if you want me to go through any of this more, I'm happy to do so. The first change really appears, I believe it should be probably even once we get into the actual regulations itself of section 5.5. So all those additions of adding in section 5.5 middle housing into the zones, that all stays the same. So this is the first change that we kind of discussed, and this is mixed use residential. So it's the same definition, except for striking in any single building containing, and again, in any single building. We're just adding which includes. So now this would be a development containing both residential and non-residential uses, which includes not less than 2 dwelling units, but not more than 9 such units. This would give the commission, if you chose to, the ability to approve more than one use on one site, have a commercial and a residential in an area that would allow some more flexibility. Again, just remind, this is summary review, the process. So by allowing this, you are allowing this. So again, it would be reviewed for health and safety impacts is the primary screening for those units, setbacks, all those would still apply. But it wouldn't be something where you would say, we don't think you should have residential on this one that has commercial. This would be kind of saying, yes, that is thought of in Newington, that is okay to do, but you have to follow all of the other rules. So that's just to be clear that that's kind of what we're looking at by making that little bit of a change. I don't know if there's any questions on that, and I don't know if Mike, if you want to join for any questions too as well. So from there, procedure, again, we made a lot of little changes. Again, sections are now proper sections. These are all grammatical in 5.5.3 procedure. Again, another section instead of section. Going under lowercase where it was uppercase before. Again, for mixed use buildings we have now when we talk about. So this was, again, thinking about the development part of it. We have for mixed use buildings, residential uses shall not be permitted on the ground floor and shall be located on or above the second floor, and soundproofing shall be designed and installed to isolate the normal sounds of business activity from the dwelling units. So you have mixed use on the site, which could be a separate building. When they are in the same building, it would be above. So that would be the contemplation of not having, you know, a residential unit immediately connected to a commercial use and that type of thing, or in front, behind, in some odd type of mixture. What I see this more is, again, in looking at, well, I do not want to say anyone will do one thing or another, or there could be a bad actor or anything. My more concern from a planning perspective is trying to shoehorn a unit in the back end of a commercial plaza down a access alley. That's not necessarily conducive. What this does, it kind of contemplates that and says, no, as of right now, that's something the commission might not be comfortable with until someone comes in and says, okay, you know, here's a development where you've seen this before, where maybe the back half of it is residential, the front is commercial. But for right now, until you know how this regulation is going to be used, this is just an opportunity for you. And just a reminder, these regulations are not set in stone. Adopted, you can just reopen them right away if you like to. You can invite developers to come talk to you. They'll have these as a baseline to have that discussion instead of we don't know what the rules are. They're like, okay, these are the rules. What works for them, what doesn't, they can really start test fitting. And again, we don't expect to see a massive amount of these applications, but there is some minor interest out there. So if there's no more questions on that or any questions on the mixed use aspect on the site, just want to pause.
I have questions.
Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Just because I unfortunately was not able to attend the public hearing last week. So first on page 7, under the definitions of mixed use residential, can you just briefly explain what the cross out? You just right there. Yep. Up,
Yep.
right there.
So again, the cross out was in any single building. So that kind of made sure that it was very specific that mixed use residential was only contemplated to be in any single building. That you would have only a mixed use building or a residential building. Never the two shall meet on the one site. This kind of talks about mixed use residential, talks about, which includes, it leaves off the in any single building. That's the main change. That we're not specifically citing that, which gives, I think, the commission a little bit of flexibility to say, yes, it would be on the same site. And again, this would be someone looking back to this record as well. And you discussing, is that something, is this how you interpret that? Because this is the kind of foundation for the regulation. Again, regulations only, what they say is what matters. The intent behind them matters a little, but it comes down to the words when you actually go to, the defense of a regulation. So I don't know if that's a good enough explanation or if you have any follow-up.
Yeah, that I was just wondering why it was taken out. So that answers that. Thank you. And then my next question is on page 12. And if you're going to get to that soon, you can tell me to wait. No, we'll wait to ask that, or you can answer it later.
Yep.
But why was
Yeah.
the maximum unit size taken out?
So at the public hearing, that was a question regarding, is this something, are we unnecessarily prohibiting, say, a 3-bedroom? Are we unnecessarily prohibiting a larger 2-bedroom? The original kind of the way when we wrote this, staff to contemplate it was the affordability of smaller units in general. But there was concern that this would not permit enough flexibility of the people who want to develop these to say, maybe it's something where they have a odd building configuration where they do want one to be 1,500 or 1,200, or all of them end up at 1,100 and they have to cut out an area. Is that something that is important enough for the commission to hold onto? Again, this is just these numbers are conceptual. Every number is when it comes to setbacks and size. Just 1,000 was a clean number for what would be considered a middle-sized 2-bedroom. You typically see those in the market at about that 980 square foot. 890 to 980 is what we've seen in a lot of the newer builds. So that's kind of why that was there.
Okay, thank you.
All set? All right.
I'm all set. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Davis. That's all.
Okay, so we'll go on again. That was the developments, which I just discussed. So this is one of the other areas that I noted, the common parking. To kind of understand the difference between a parking for a single unit, are they allowed to have a garage in the front if it makes sense? This is, the question that was raised. It might not make sense in all cases. Is this something that the commission is comfortable with, that you would be working with this as common parking? And again, the goal is to prevent that type of, larger, just all parking in front, sea of asphalt type of feeling, and having something that's more organized, or again, parking hidden in the back. I think this makes a lot of sense in the business zone, the town center zone, in the Berlin Turnpike zone, in the planned development zone. There are many cases where, it isn't necessarily walkable as it is now. Does this give you enough flexibility with the sites? So that was something that was raised. So that's why the word common parking was added. It was likely the path of least resistance to accomplish that for the commission. But is this something that you might revisit? You could, but is this what you were thinking as the commission to add that in there? So I can pause if there's any questions or comments.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just
Mr.
had a
Harvey.
quick question. When you talk about the soundproofing shall be designed and installed to isolate the normal sounds. How does that work?
Yep.
That's
So
just-
that is something that was kind of noted the last at the hearing. We talked about the recommendations from the town attorney. That was one of the recommendations to look into that. That is a process. It's something that we've actually talked with Kraga as well about, and they have been looking into it. It's something that I think the commission should look into updating. But again, it's the same as we have in our regulations now as it is. So updating it for globally for that and for this, I think would be kind of an important thing, just to give a true actual number or give a way to provide some type of measurement of analysis of it, what you're looking for. Again, right now, it's gonna be, other than having an acoustic expert, that they'll just have to make sure that they said, yes, we're putting in rock wool, we're taping the joints, we're doing those things, that it shows that good faith effort. And it is in the, any developer's best interest to do that. If you're gonna have tenants above and you're building a new building, a lot of that actually comes in, I think, more in the retrofits. That's the area where you would be more concerned about, because it never was designed that way to begin with. Retrofits always cost more. When you kind of have to dig, start ripping up floors. That would be my concern.
I'm not opposed to it. There's so many variances when you get into soundproofing.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yep, and it's something that it's
a
beyond
challenge.
our current research at the moment, but we are looking into where we've gone to of what we have a definitive answer for. And it's something that I say, yes, as noted, these regulations can keep being worked on. And that's an area that was recommended by the town attorney to continue to work on that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any other questions? All right, Paul.
Okay, so another item that was added under this building orientation. So this is number 4. For mixed-use developments containing more than one building, residential buildings or units shall be served by a separate primary vehicle access. So this goes to, a little further thought about, since going over to not allowing a just mixed use or just residential, if you have them on the same lot, do you really, this is that concept of you have to think about that access for the residential, and it shouldn't be just directly through the commercial lot. You should be able to kind of orient it in a way that would provide a little more, safe access for those, and the residents aren't having to go through all the time through the commercial. Again, this is something that could be changed in the future. You could work on. Again, this is just something that working, Mike and I, when discussing the change to that type of 2 things on one lot, that could be something that's for the commission to consider. And again, from there, we note again, this is what I noticed with, this is the landscape buffer in the front for all developments not located in a business or business town center zone, the 15-foot in the front. So really what we're talking about, commercial development on Willard, we're talking about the Business Berlin Turnpike zone and the planned development zone. So that's Business Berlin Turnpike, that's Kits, that is portion of Rowley, portion of all that over there is all those type of zones. This is just clearing up the language, putting, keeping consistent. The one we did strike and play space for children and pets, just in general, which is shaded and otherwise protected. Not necessarily talking about the specific users, because it could be different. But again, the same requirement, which is shaded and otherwise protected, just because that's the main intent, is to have someplace outside that's not just within pavement surrounding you. So from there, as noted, striking the maximum unit size, and that is stricken. It's just shown here again as highlighted with strike through, just to show what was removed. And then adding common parking and detached, keeping that same side, rear, yard. But again, that concept of common parking as in not being parking for a garage, but being parking for a parking lot. So when someone designs a larger parking lot, that is actually for the residences to be located either on the side or behind. You have side or rear and everything, I believe, except for the business town center zone. And that I think does make sense that you would want in the business town center zone, parking towards the rear and keeping, some type of common edge for people who are, experiencing the zone. And from there, so this is the one section, and I'll kind of let Mike pick up from here to talk about this pre-existing conversions and what this kind of could mean. And then you can kind of discuss it. Is this something you would like to have in this regulation, or would you like to strike it for now?
Mike, please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Mike D'Amato with Tyke Planning and Policy Group, with an office in Vernon, Connecticut. As Paul mentioned, one of the sections that we added to this version or this draft is 5.5.14. It's titled Pre-Existing Conversions. One of the things that is really difficult about writing regulations that are dealing with this sort of content or this development type is that when you think about these regs in the context of a new development, you kind of get one thought in your mind, and then you try to take that same thought and apply it to an existing building, and it's like it feels a little bit uncomfortable because there's such a difference in how this will all come together and with the summary review process, et cetera. And as we all know, regulations can be very well written and can have everything that we were able to kind of pull together included. But when you have a property that has certain pre-existing nonconformities, they don't always hit the ground in the way in which we intend, because we can't do anything about a building that's been there for 60 years. So this section is meant to make clear the specific components of the regulation, which the commission will not sort of provide or acknowledge a pre-existing non-conforming characteristic. So no matter what, when someone comes in and they want to change or intensify the use on the property within the building to the any of the types of development which are allowed by this reg, the commission's expectation is that the items listed there will have to be complied with. And so you'll notice there's nothing very, which is not a, extreme set of language. We're not saying you're going to pick up and move the building. We're not saying you're going to pick up and, move the parking lot or anything along those lines. A lot of these things, in my mind, really are leaning more in the direction of quality of life for a resident. So we're talking about lighting, again, very easy to modify. The open space at resident amenities, so that's the green space. If you're going to be building a building or converting something that has 80, 90, or 100% coverage of pavement or something else and expect people to live there, we're going to expect that you turn some of that over to green space. Landscape buffering, again, that's to sort of protect both sides of that. We want to protect the residents from commercial use that was never intended to have residents living next door. And we want to protect the commercial property owner who has been lawfully established for perhaps many years and never envisioned that he would have, equipment outside 20 or 30 feet from what is now 9, cottage units or a 9-unit apartment. So we want to force those things to happen because we want to eliminate some of those potential conflicts. And the last thing is operable windows. So again, to the extent that some building or fire code, depending on what's going on, would address that or prohibit or require, from a zoning standpoint, we want those things to be incorporated. You could certainly add to that list, subtract from the list. You could decide that, we're getting too picky. But as we think about, and I think some of the conversation earlier on in sort of the envisioning of this sort of play into how will this work for an existing building? How is this going to work for a conversion or an existing site? And it's going to be on a case by case to see how this will all come together. But I think these 4 elements are not going to create an extreme financial burden to a developer, but are going to be important to allow that site to function appropriately as a residential or mixed use development.
Any questions, commissioners? Commissioner Harpy.
So when would a deviation come into play?
So a deviation would come into play in the next section if something outside of those those four were requested. So they wouldn't come in and say, well, okay, you know, I don't want to change the light poles that are there, so I want a deviation. We're trying to prevent someone from trying to come in under that section and ask for things that are very easily modified. But if they came in and said, I have an existing building, you know, right across the street in Market Square, it's 80 years old and has a flat roof, and I'd really like to not have to take the whole roof off, that would be something that you could give the deviation for.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Okay, Mike.
Okay, so other than that, that is, I believe, the end of the changes, other than the part that was for the town attorney. Again, looking at parking spaces, adding the word on the screen, specific adverse impacts on health, on public health and safety. So those were two minor changes there as well. And for the definition of parking needs assessment, again, this is to track the act even closer, is, you know, adding, you know, a report paid for by the developer, which analyzes existing parking and public and private parking that could be used, and then the adds by the residents of the proposed development. And then 2 public transportation options that may be used by the residents of the proposed development that mitigate the need for off-street parking. And then 3, and then it kind of kept in there. So this really, what it does is it adds, you know, the number 2, it talks very specific about the residents of the development. It just clarifies that. So again, that's from the town attorney. And I did not see any issues at all with those additions. It's just clarifying text. So those have been, that's the primary changes since the last edition. Again, not too dramatic, but focusing more on that concept of common parking. Are you able to allow some parking, a garage in front in a circumstance that would make sense? Primarily, I think in the, you know, PD and the Business Berlin Turnpike zones rather than the town center and the B zones. And from there, that concept of 2 different uses on 1 lot while allowing for some type of harmony while still making sure that the residences, even with, including with the alternate compliance part, if you had an existing building and say someone wanted to add some units, that you wouldn't be able to say, well, I already have this set up. They're gonna go right through there. I'm just gonna put it right in the back. I'm gonna have them access through my main commercial parking lot. It's to think about the quality of life for those future residents. Again, what comes before you, you might see something different. It might make sense to modify the regulations, but this gives you, I think, a good solid starting point for someone to really look at it and say, okay, this is what's in the community. This is what I can build. Does it work? And then they'll come have that conversation with you.
All set, commissioners? Commissioner Gill?
Well, I don't know where to ask this question. I just heard that Paul is leaving.
We'll bring that up on the remarks later.
In what?
We'll bring it up later. This is a public hearing for this petition right now.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Gill. All right. So public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this motion?
No one online has their hand raised, Mr. Chairman.
Jacob?
I guess, Jacob Knowlton, 10 Hillside Street. Before I speak though, is this just for in favor? Can I
No.
recommend? Okay,
I think, and I'll have the chairman clarify on that
Right.
one.
okay,
Speaking for the motion.
okay, just for it. One, thanks for the changes that were made. I think the removal of that 15-foot buffer in the BT zone is adequate. Having it in other zones makes sense. A few things I just wanted to bring up as I kept going through. I'm sorry, I keep having some changes. As I read more and more regs, things just come up. The first is on the same page with the landscaping buffer. I believe it's C9. It's the one that specifically talks about the 500 feet requirement. That is per residential unit for green space. My comment for that is that that just might be a little bit restrictive. To have 500 feet per unit of green space might be put on a premium for the residents, or I don't know, it's a lot doing the math, like for 9 units or however many units. My suggestion is to either reduce it, but another creative thing would just be to change it from green space to open space, and then include that, include balconies, porches, things like that, so that you can both get green space, but also allow them to incorporate the vertical into that square footage. So basically, you're getting, allowing for an incentive to basically get something to break up the facade, which we enjoy from porches and things like that in New England. But it doesn't mean that you're just getting flat green grass, right? So that's my one of my suggestions. The other thing I noticed is that a lot of our towns are demonstrating a perfect 6, but then not allowing a perfect 6 because we don't allow the roof type that we're demonstrating in the images. So I would just think on that. They have a flat roof, right? But clearly that's not allowed here. My thought process on this, I understand why we don't have flat roofs because of snow and all that. But it would be up to the developer to demonstrate, if you were to allow it, that this thing would not be a risk to health and safety, right? So even if you were to allow it, you would still be able to deny it if they did not prove that. So my thought is, in order to allow for the perfect 6, to allow for a flat roof under the condition that it doesn't risk collapse and things like that. So, and that's just so that you're allowing what you're showing in your in the visualizations of your middle housing. And then the last comment I have is Commissioner Kane made a comment about landscaping at the last public hearing on plants that were not native. And allowing for flexibility in that. So I just wanted to recommend this language if you wanted to use it. I think there's a term called naturalized plants, which are not native, but don't outcompete native plants. So they're not considered invasive. And so if you were to add language to allow for flexibility, consider naturalized plants to gain that flexibility. But the main comment is just that 500 feet requirement thing. That just seems like a lot, especially for your areas that don't have a lot of space already, like your BTC zone. That just might be a massive lot to get some housing done. So, and typically you're already getting green space through your building coverage and those kinds of regulations anyway. So that's all. Thank you.
Paul, we could probably take those up under, if we pass this, we can make those for modifications.
Yep. And the one thing, and again, there's a lot of regulations here. The interesting thing about the flat roof, so under type D, we do have an interesting one where while it doesn't specifically demonstrate it and show it visually, we do say flat roofs are permitted, provided they incorporate architectural features that create visual interest and avoid a blank or monolithic appearance, such as variation in roof line, changes in building height, integrated cornices, overhangs, or similar elements. So basically, while we would allow a perfect 6 in the typical flat roof, it would be kind of plussed up on architecture instead of just straight roof lines. Yes, that does increase sometimes the cost of building slightly to add that little definition to it, but that's something that does provide some visual breakup and difference to the site. So again, that's something for the commission. You can consider that in the future if someone comes in and says, I can't build it that way, and they're showing you a very, a good looking flat roof on that you consider changing that. But that's how we kind of approached it, is just to kind of plus it up a little bit compared to traditional flat roofs. Again, New England, we know that flat roofs are not our ideal for the general snow loading, everything, but some places they do need to be that way. And when you're only permitting 3 stories, sometimes that makes sense if you're trying to give like an 8.5 foot to a 9 foot ceiling height and you're trying to develop differently. So again, general concepts, but that is in there. With the 500 square foot, I think the commission can either comment on that one way or another. That's kind of, what we were looking at. Again, for 9 units, you're talking, $4,500 500 square feet, so you're talking 0.1 acres. So it's like a little over 0.1 of a site. So not dramatic. So if you had a 9 units on a half acre site, then, you know, a little over 20% of it then would be green space. That's kind of like very rough numbers off the top of my head, but that's kind of to think of it that way. So if you had that, then 20% of it would be the green space and the rest would be for the building and kind of go from there. So again, something to think about.
And the green space also helps us with the MS4 program by removing pavement and putting green back out there.
All right, anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this?
No one online has their hand raised, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone wishing to speak against this motion?
No one online has their hand raised, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Pleasure, want to close?
Sorry to jump in. So the one item we haven't really discussed, and unfortunately, Charlie had some more of the research today, but he had to be called out. But me and him did do research through the Plan of Conservation and Development. Again, this is a very specific type of regulation that we're talking about right now. But this does, again, we did not find any conflict with the POCD. Whether you want to talk about more, I know it's not in a direct staff report in front of you. This is, again, to be compliant with the public acts, to fit into that, but the incorporation of the green space, the consideration of reutilizing, revamping existing built corridors, because again, most of this concept of this is in the commercial corridors. Our commercial corridors are very developed. There are not that not space left. This potentially is redevelopment, and that's something that's encouraged through the POCD, as well as encouraging various different type of housing types and availability. Again, potentially of these different type of units. The whole goal behind the middle housing is to provide additional housing and a different type of housing that could potentially be built at a less expensive to rent, to live in, to own than a single family residential development. So those are all general concepts of the POCD that are supported. But there is, nothing that's very, very specific that goes in. But I do want to say, for the record, because we do have that in a potential motion, but Charlie and I sat down and did a thorough review of it and did not find any conflict.
Any commissioner comments? Commissioner Arpey?
One thing I think confuses the public and developers and builders on not this specifically, but the language of the legislation that was passed. There's nothing in there that, is there anything in there that's counter to this? In other words, some language with respect, you mentioned the flat roofs. Is there any kind of contrary language so strong that we should be concerned about it?
So I have reviewed it with the town attorney as well. And even specifically, we went in and reviewed the alternative compliance. And the main concept of that one is originally thought about it and looked at it and said, no, this actually follows the spirit of the regulation because it doesn't unduly prohibit your ability to build it. It's saying, all right, in the cases where, yeah, you have the ability to, the plus or minus of the towns lead the way type of, way of doing it is, it did not say very specifically, you can't do X, Y, and Z. It told you have to permit this by summary review, but you can have typical zoning requirements, setbacks, the general bulk requirements. And a lot of these, again, open space is a bulk requirement, setbacks are a bulk requirement. You can have design criteria that has been reviewed by the town attorney. Again, no issues have been found with the way that we've talked about how these should be designed, the amount of transparency. It is just generally just preventing something from being a gray block of someone just throwing something into a commercial and going, you live here now, without any concept of how someone's going to actually live there. So again, the legislation of the things it did leave that open and up to the towns. And that's why, when CROG is reviewing these from all the towns, they're all going to be different because it's up to the towns. That's why the capitals, regions of governments, the different ones, them and Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments, everyone has their own approaches. Some have consultants that are helping specifically in those, and every town is coming out with something different. But it is something that works contextually for your town. So that's kind of the long answer to that. But again, with the reviews I've had, the discussions I've had, there are no issues as presented and as we have in front of us.
That's very helpful. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Gill, did you have a question earlier? Go ahead.
Well, I had a couple quick, but in regards to Paul leaving us, where are we going to get and keep his knowledge accessible to us? Especially for this particular.
Well, the good thing is we have Eric, who has been by my side for this whole thing. We have Charlie, who unfortunately is not here right now, but he's been through my side through it. And also Mike has been work. So the good thing is this is not just all from my mind. This is a team approach. And I think, you know, the core part of that team is still going to be here to assist you. And again, working with Eric and the town manager, working through, you know, what we have available for budgets to, you know, my recommendation would be to continue using and working with Taichi about going through these processes. So when you have a developer who comes in, it would be Eric reaching out and saying, yep, we need you to come back and help us out for this month and go through that process. That's something that, again, this has been a multi-year beneficial working relationship that we've had. And I think it's served the town quite well. So that's long answer to it, but I think the team will remain and you still do have a large knowledge base available. And I'm sure I'll get a call from time to time.
All set, Commissioner Gill?
Thank you.
All right. What's the commission's pleasure? You want to keep this open or you want to?
I would just, since we introduced a lot of new things, if you would like, Mr. Chairman, just to call one more time before closing or having concept for public, just to see if anyone in the room or anyone online.
In the room wishing to speak for or against this? Anyone online, please state your name and address if you're online.
No one online has their hand raised.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to close the public hearing, petition 26-10.
There a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, we'll move that to old business. Okay, under new business, we have approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second? Okay. Any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Just a point of clarification, that was for the June 10th meeting.
Yeah.
Oh,
we
June
don't have the
10th, I'm
minutes
sorry,
to
right?
grab.
Okay, under new business. New business, a designation of a TPZ Commissioner alternate representative to Capital Regional Council of Governments, CROG, Regional Planning Commission. All right.
Yep, so this would be your general, if you like it, I can kind of jump in like I normally do on that one. And so I would like to call for nominations for this role. So if there's someone to be nominated to be, again, the alternate for CROG.
Nominate Gail Kelly. You want to nominate Ellie?
Oh, okay. I would like to place a name in nomination, Commissioner Rice Davis.
Commissioner Rice Davis, do you accept?
I do.
Okay, then I'll call any other nominations. Hearing none. So the vote is for the nomination of Commissioner Rice Davis to be the alternate. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
None carries. You have an alternate.
Thank you. You'll have to go down to the town clerk gets sworn in.
Yeah, well, already sworn in for this, so I don't think you have to get secondary because this is a secondary to this commission.
Okay, I'm not sure. All right.
We can always check. Yep. But I'm pretty sure it's just
All right.
another roll of a hat.
Okay, next is old business.
Petition TPZ 26-10 zoning regulation amendments to address special session Public Act 25-1 middle housing parking requirements and associated updates. Multiple sections, including sections 2.1, 3.10, 3.11, 3.13, 3.19, 3.20, 3.26, 4.5, 5.5, 6.0, 6.1, 7.4, and 9.2. Applicant Newington TPZ, contact Paul Dixon, Town Planner.
Is there a second?
Second.
Hope you have to
You
read
need a motion.
the motion itself.
Sorry?
The motion.
Yeah, that was just reading in, so you need the motion itself.
Right here.
Motion to approve with an effective date of July 1st, 2026. Move to approve the June 22nd, 2026 TPZ 26-10 SSPA 25-1 proposed amendments for petition TPZ 26-10 for the zoning regulation amendments to address special session Public Act 25-1, middle housing, parking requirements, and associated updates with an effective date of July 1st, 2026. Reason for approval, the amendments are consistent with the criteria of Public Act 25-1 and do not conflict with the plan of conservation and development.
Second, Mr. Chairman. So made second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Yep, and that was clear. Again, it was read into, just as the effective date in the motion was July 1st, 2026, and that was definitely read.
Yes.
Okay,
Twice. Good job, Paul,
All right.
excellent.
and Mike, and Eric, and everyone else.
Okay, petitions for scheduling, Paul.
Okay, so on top of the petition that's in front of you, on the, agenda, the TPZ 2611, 180 Car Ave, I think you'll recall this was a pre-application that came into you. This is that conversion or the, map amendment from R20 residential to I industrial that has been submitted. Again, received today, by the commission. I submitted the, CROG referral, so that is out there for 30 days. So that will likely be at the August 12th, meeting for a public hearing. Also, it went to, of course, New Britain as well, because this is actually a shared property. So it's on the bordering line, so it went to their clerk for their notice. So to add to that, there was an additional, what happened at, let's see if I can bring this up. So when TPZ 26-4 and TPZ 26-8, so these were at the meeting of the 10th. So these were approved by the commission. After we had that meeting, we were informed by the Hartford Courant that the second public hearing notice in the paper did not run. There was an issue on how it was programmed in. So in working with the applicant and the town attorney, we have re-advertised for a public hearing on July 8th for running those applications over again. So that will be TPZ 26-4A, special permit for a place of assembly for recreation for an indoor kids gym facility at 1581 Southeast Road in the B business zone, and petition 26-8A, special permit for the sale of alcoholic beverages, section 6.6.2 for an existing restaurant at 2551 Berlin Turnpike in the business Berlin Turnpike zone. So again, that's just, it is a technical issue. It was approved by the commission, but this is again to correct that defect in the record. Again, it is in the applicant's benefit that they do follow through that process. We've been in contact with them. They're working with us. They understand. So they'll be back in front of you at the next meeting for a public hearing.
And they will make their presentation again. We'll go through the same process.
Yep. So again, you'll have all the materials all over again. And then the other one that was submitted let's see if we have that, because we were working on the actual description. Do you have that off the top of your head?
I know the address, so basically it's for 50 Rockwell Road for a theater, children's theater, I believe. It's in an existing building, so it's a special permit for the regulation. We're looking at that. That's probably not gonna be on until at least the end of July at the soonest.
Yep,
Maybe
so
August.
that's TPZ 26-12, special permit section 3.15.2 for theater performing arts facility at 50 Rockwell Road in the planned development PD zone. So again, that's something we'll have to bring through the process. It was, I have to check the receipt date on it as we go through, but, you know, it looks like actually we started doing that on the 22nd, so it's officially received. Even though we, you know, the rules for, by the statute are, as long as you are prior to the day of the hearing, you are received at the next regularly scheduled hearing. So, that will be put into the queue as well, and we'll get that in front of you. So those are the applications that are received.
Okay, thank you. Any communications? Everybody has their CROG letters? Any questions on those? Hearing none, it's round two for public participation for items that were not on the agenda.
No one online has their hand raised, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone in the room? No. Okay. Marks by commissioners. Commissioner Woods.
Paul, just want to thank you for the time here, and I'm sure I'm going to be missed, but again, best of luck wherever you're going. And I know you'll do well, and you've actually helped us a lot in your short tenure here, but you know, it was very productive. I appreciate learning from you. Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments? Commissioner Gill.
I can ditto that. He's been very cooperative with me and helping me through a lot of issues, but you are going to be missed. Thank you,
Commissioner Harpy.
Paul, I understand you're going to Vermont to take a little relaxation time before you jump into the the new opportunity. So say a few prayers for us too, will you?
Will do.
Appreciate it.
Commissioner Pasquarelli.
No, I have no comments.
Okay. Commissioner Kane.
No comments, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Davis.
Paul, you will be missed. You'll be missed. I haven't known you for that long, but you'll be missed, and I wish you luck. You've been very helpful, and I just wish you luck with your next endeavor.
Thank you. Commissioner Morales.
She's not online.
Not online. Okay. Paul, I personally want to thank you for all you've done. You've helped me as chairman. You've been a great asset to this town. Gonna be sorely missed. Gonna be very hard to replace. And again, you know, anytime you want to cancel and stay, you're welcome to stay. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Chair,
Yes,
I had a question.
yes, Commissioner.
I just found out about a webinar for NFPA that has to do with solar and ESS storage facilities. And it is going to be on July 15th of 26. I think we, from past issues we've had with especially the storage units, someone from the town, to me, should be included in this. And also, now that we are going to have a new fire marshal, there's an issue as far as from TPZ to the fire marshal and the fire department. They're sent a lot of times the fire marshal does not communicate with the fire department, and that has had problems, and something that's I think should be addressed before we get a new fire marshal. And also with this here, I don't know if we can suggest that someone look into this webinar.
Paul, can we put that, I know you won't be here, can we put that on the agenda for next time? Maybe we should appoint somebody from this commission to go to that webinar.
Yep, I don't think you don't have to appoint necessarily, but you could, if you want to go to it, absolutely anyone can go to a free webinar and anything they want, learn from it. I think that's a good thing. If you have interest in it, and it would also be to bring it to the attention of the fire marshal's office, because, they do have Mr. Hoffman, who's acting in that role, and I've worked with him in the past as well, and you have the other inspectors who can also attend it as well. So if that's something that they're not aware of, I'd recommend just shooting them an email right over with that and saying, hey, by the way, this is an opportunity. That way they get eyes on it as well.
Okay, I can do that. I mean,
I think we should also make Commissioner Minor aware of it too. Yeah.
That's fine.
Sorry,
Sure.
and anybody else. So maybe if you could send an email to Paul, and he can send it out to all the commissioners a time and a date if they wish to attend. Okay?
all right.
All right, thank you. All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, Gia.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.